Greetings, YouTube. I'll be linking to a thread on the Big Blue which deals with California's efforts to reduce successfully the mortality rates of women giving birth. Now, America has probably the worst mortality rate for women giving birth amongst the industrialized nations. I mean, some of those horrible socialist dystopians in Europe have death rates in the single digits per 100,000. Yeah, we're the double digits because we just don't care about women, apparently. What a shocker. But one of these facts really stood out to me that I wasn't aware of. And these numbers I'm about to read are directly from the CDC itself. Um, for white women, deaths are at 12.1 deaths per 100,000. That in and of itself is an atrocity. Among black women, it's 40.4 deaths per 100,000, and amongst women of other non-white races, it is 16.4 deaths per 100,000. That's unbelievable. This is in the nation that is the wealthiest, the most powerful, at least militarily, on the planet. At one time, we were probably the most politically powerful nation on the planet. I don't believe that is true any longer. I think that there are a number of other nations that are now kind of jockeying for that position. But leadership of the free world probably falls into the shoulders of Angela Merkel at this point. But remember, the United States, amongst the industrialized nations, is the only one without a universal healthcare system. Because we don't care about people. Flat out. America, which purports to be the single most religious Christian nation in the world, and we have a very high level of religiosity. Yeah, religiosity, that's the word I'm looking for, I think. Doesn't at all apply its supposed Christian values to the real world. We don't take care of the sick. We don't take care of the poor. We don't take care of the hungry. We don't take care of the homeless. We don't take care of children. We don't take care of the elderly. And we don't take care of the ignorant. We just ignore them all. We let them die. And here are the numbers to show that we let them die. And, of course, this being America, we are deeply racist. We are a white supremacist nation. We have been for a very long time. I ignored it for decades because it was convenient, because I didn't have to think about it. And I am deeply apologetic for having ignored it for so long. My white privilege lets me ignore it. And I can't let that happen again. And the CDC was nice enough to give us some numbers to show just how horrible. I mean, over 3 times as many black women as white women die in America from childbirth. Childbirth. And in America, we have this very strange relationship to women and pregnancy. If a woman isn't pregnant, we chastise her if she ever has sex. If she becomes pregnant and carries the fetus to term, we are fairly neutral on that. We actually don't put any moral judgments on on a woman for carrying a fetus to term. We don't help her, really. We ignore her as much as possible. We consider helping to make sure that the child that is born out of that pregnancy is healthy. We find that burdensome for some reason. And once the child is born, we again don't care about the child. We ignore the child. We are indifferent to the child's health and housing and food and education and all that things. We don't care. But for that very brief moment from conception until delivery, Americans are really concerned about that fetus. Now, we don't care about women prior to pregnancy. We don't really care if they have any form of bodily autonomy at all. And we don't care about them after they've given birth to a child. Again, we don't care if they have any bodily autonomy at all. We are indifferent whether they are abused or they are raped. We just don't care. But during that little narrow window right there, when they are a theoretical mother, but not a mother, we are really interested in them. It's It's almost like something out of quantum physics. It's quite fascinating and horribly ugly. And we also apparently are indifferent to how many of the women die in childbirth in America in the 21st century. Women are dying in childbirth. And if they're black, 40 of them per 100,000 are dying. Because America is racist, misogynistic, and we just don't care. So next time somebody tells you how deeply religious they are, how deeply Christian they are, ask them if they're supporting Planned Parenthood. Ask them if they're supporting prenatal care. Ask them if they support making sure that women survive and get through their postpartum depression if they experience it. Ask them if they support preschool, early start for kindergarten, school lunches. Do they support all these things? Do they support making sure that women and their children have housing, are not victims of domestic violence? To make sure they have food and shelter and health care? They support these things? Or is Christian just a title they tack onto themselves because it makes them feel good and they think that it means that people around them will think better of them for it? It's just an empty title they like to use, a term that has no meaning politically, which doesn't support their actual worldviews, which is partly ignore women and let them die. So yeah, next time someone claims to be deeply Christian, ask them if they support these things. See how they answer.